On this episode of Star Wars Time Show, the dudes will be talking Mandalorian. That's right, they know some episode premiere dates as well as who's directing each episode. After that, though, you better strap in because they're going full bore into the Rise of Skywalker. Why, you may ask? Well, the final trailer dropped, so they got all sorts of things to speculate on, including a look at some new posters. And don't forget, it's the primetime show, so they're going to be doing the top 5 Star Wars artist features of the week. Cue the mother effing music. Hey now, everybody! Welcome back to a brand new primetime style episode of the Star Wars Time Show, and we are shot out of a cannon. Why? Well, you heard the guy right. We've got a new trailer to talk about, not just a trailer, the final trailer for Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, and boy, was it a doozy. But before we get there, we've got to discuss some other stuff. This is definitely going to be a TROS heavy episode, but before we get to all the newness, we got to discuss some Mandalorian stuff. So, Nick, TROS still a ways away. 2 months, less than 2 months, technically. It's October 22 as we're recording here. But before that, we are going to get something else special in the land of Star Wars, and that is the debut of The Mandalorian. So last time we talked, we know it was coming out November 12th. We're going to get the first episode, but we really did not know the cadence of the show in terms of what was the episode release schedule going to be. Well, we have that now.
We have it now, and it's a little bit odd. I know that when you
I don't like it, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, I do not like this.
I really wish what they would have done. So basically what we see here for The Mandalorian is a November 12th initial drop, which if you guys are following at home, that is a Tuesday.
And that's when Plus goes live, so I get what they're doing. But then what they do?
They shift it over to a Friday schedule, so you have the first episode on the 12th and then the second episode on the 15th, which throws off your entire episodic release schedule. So starting on a Tuesday, shifting to a Friday, and now you're having your season finale on December 27th instead of wrapping around until the first of the year. So instead of having Mandalorian from November 12th until what would have been January 3rd, you have Mandalorian from November 12th to December 27th because they drop episode 2 3 days after episode 1. It's very weird how they did it.
When I saw this, dude, the first thing that obviously shocked me was the double episode drop week 1. I get that they want to blow their load and be like, hey, Disney Plus is here, Mandalorian, yeah, this is why you want to buy it. But then they just be like, oh, yeah, well, let's get it right back on a Friday release schedule, which, first and foremost, a Friday release schedule?
Yeah, it's
I
weird.
guess that's kind of how Netflix does it, right, with their major streaming shows. But they binge the shit. So
yeah.
It's just like in terms of a network or even a cable program, you typically put your shittiest shows on a Friday.
Yeah, they do. And I guess it's very convenient for people who are coming home and they have day jobs and stuff like that. So
you losers at work.
Yeah.
Let us slackers watch this when we want to. I was hoping for kind of like a Game of Thrones, a Sunday type of rollout. But honestly, the biggest reason I'm bitching about this, people, you're probably sitting there like, man, these guys are fucking assholes. They're upset that we're getting a ton of Star Wars content in a condensed period of time. That's the problem. Not only do we love Star Wars, but we tend to like to create content for it, especially me. So I'm looking at this going, okay, basically the week of November 12th, I'm going to watch the show Tuesday. Then I'm going to have to do the Easter egg recap and the video recap, then the podcast recap. Oh, and then the other one comes out Friday. Well, it looks like Saturday morning I'll be doing an Easter egg video, a recap video, and then Nick and I will be talking about the following week. So it's just like, fuck, man, spare me.
It really fucks up our content release schedule considering we're basically in a cadence now to where our Wednesday shows that we record and release on Thursdays are our, either special edition or television series breakdown episodes. So now with the shows coming out on Friday, we essentially have to either decide, okay, do we want to do a Monday recording for the episode recaps and then go back and do a Tuesday for the standard show, or do we do Monday for the standard show and then Tuesday for the? It really throws off.
I mean, it's full on first world problems.
Yeah,
here.
it
There's
is.
no doubt about it. It's just I'm sitting here going, man, I want to do the videos because honestly, the videos we restarted the videos for Star Wars Resistance, and they're already taking off again like they were. I mean, I'm still embarrassed to admit, but by taking off, I mean, they're getting 100, 200 views versus the paltry shit that we get on the podcast videos. So I have a feeling if we do some Mandalorian stuff, we could also capture some of that YouTube audience.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of a pull from the YouTube side of Star Wars Time and the podcast. But Nick's right. I mean, these are things that stress us out at night and make us lose sleep. But don't worry. The SWT bros will definitely have you covered on The Mandalorian. I just don't know when we're going to be doing it. More than likely, we're going to stick to our typical cadence, and you're just going to have to deal with it and be like, hey, assholes, this episode literally came out a week ago, and you're recapping it right before the next one comes out. Tough shit.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. I don't really know. I can almost guarantee you, though, in terms of content for new episodes, you'll probably be getting those a day after they air because I am a psychotic. And I feel like I have to get stuff out there early, even though no one watches it anyways. It's a problem I have to deal with. Don't worry about me. I'm okay most of the time.
Oh, man. It's going to be
All
a
right,
fun
so,
day. It's going to be a fun
yeah,
day.
dude, I mean, you're excited. I'm excited, but there is that weird content creator Star Wars fan in me that's a little stressed out about it.
Oh, yeah. So next up, we got more Mando news, specifically around the directors, right? This is one thing that we kind of knew about, but we didn't know exactly where they were going to fall.
Exactly. We knew who was involved. We didn't know who was doing which episode. And it's kind of eye-opening who gets what here in terms of the episode. Oh, the other thing, dude, 8 episodes?
Yeah.
Did we know that at some point in time? Because I always thought it was 10.
Me too. I was under the impression that there were 10, but that could have just been us being stupid and not actually looking into something as far as we needed to.
Well, it makes sense because didn't they reveal with the Kenobi announced that it would only be 8 episodes too? So that seems to be how they're going to roll here with these.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping since there's only 8 episodes that we're going to get full 1 hour long episodes, not like 50 minutes or 45 minutes, which you typically see out of a cable television show to account for commercial breaks. So if we're going to have 8, give me a full hour or over. Go hour and 15. Hell, I'd love that.
Yeah, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. So we got 8 episodes, and here are your directors. So I love this first one, and it makes sense. I mean, the premiere episode they gave to Filoni, which it's like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, right? I mean,
Dave Filoni has earned his right to not only direct the first episode of the first ever Star Wars live action television series. He's earned the right to direct his own Star Wars live action movie, like on the big screen. So I don't know if this is something that Dave's doing in the interim and then they have plans for him to direct a movie later in his career. I really hope so, but it's a really good start to launch him into the live action Star Wars television.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is his first experience doing live action. Clearly, him and John are the top dogs on Mando. They're moving into the second season where I think John's going to direct now instead of just being pure showrun. But, yeah, I mean, Filoni, for all intents and purposes, he is George Lucas's successor. We've talked about that on this show. I don't think he wants to be a Kathleen Kennedy type, like a producer where they just kind of make decisions and move money around. I think first and foremost, he is an artist and a creator.
Yeah.
But I do think this guy should be involved at high level Star Wars lore conversations.
Oh, yeah. I mean make him the sole story group person.
I know. I mean, there's rumors that Feige, essentially his coming over here is eventually going to lead to him taking over for Kathleen, and he's going to run Lucasfilm. That's fine. I mean, Dave Filoni should be running the fucking story group or something then. The dude should be involved at a high-level decision-making processes in terms of narratives for the films, the cartoons, so on and so forth. So Filoni opens up. Then we got Rick Famuyiwa. I have no clue who that guy.
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't really done a ton of stuff. He's been in the industry for a long time, and if you look at his directing credits, they loop back around till his first movie is 1996, but a lot of it's not really popular stuff. So 1999 he directed a movie called The Wood, and that was with who was it? So it was with Omar Epps. If you've seen Major League 2, you know who Omar Epps is, the guy who plays Willie Mays Hayes. Richard T. Jones. Richard T. Jones has actually been in a lot of stuff. And then with Taye Diggs, and then everybody knows who Taye Diggs is. So that's kind of like, when I look at his resume, that's the most recognizable movie to me. He also directed Dope, which came out in 2015, and was a well-received movie as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what his take on, what his take on Star Wars is, how he approaches The Mandalorian, and what he brings to episode 2, because episode 2 is usually the episode where shit really gets moving. Like, you have episode 1 sets up and really kind of leads you into the entire story for the show, and then episode 2, boom, you get into it.
So he's got a pretty big one, and then he's also doing episode 6, and then Deborah Chow is doing episode 3, and if you remember from the Kenobi reveal or announce, she is essentially the I don't know if she's the showrunner or if she's directing all episodes of Kenobi, but she's kind of the main deal with that.
Yeah.
4, you have Bryce Dallas Howard, daughter of Ron Howard, Star Wars royalty, Hollywood royalty, really. I mean, she's directed, she's acted, come on, everyone knows who Bryce is. Dave gets number 5, so that's probably another key episode. Rick, as we said, comes back for 6. Deborah gets 7, and then my man Taika closes out with 8. It's, the guy playing IG-11, Thor Ragnarok, Jojo Rabbit. I mean, I love Taika Waititi.
Yeah, the dude is a fantastic filmmaker, and he's shown that. And look, I know that Taika's, done things for a while now, but he really rose to prominence over the last few years.
Oh, I mean, dude, Thor Ragnarok put him on the map. I never knew who the fuck he was.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his resume on IMDb before that, there are a few things. Flight of the Conchords, obviously, people have seen that show. People enjoyed. He did a few episodes of that. He did a few episodes of the In-Betweeners television series. I believe this is the UK one, not the US one. Other than that, like, you look at his stuff and not too much until Thor Ragnarok comes around, and then he becomes one of the most loved directors in the entirety of filmmaking. And, obviously, like you mentioned, Matt Jojo Rabbit coming out, Mandalorian, Thor Love and Thunder coming soon. The guy's a killer, and I'm glad that he's closing it out. If I had to choose somebody else, though, I would, if it was me, I would have bookended it with Filoni. I would have did Filoni 1 and Filoni 8.
Or John himself to close it. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but, I mean, we already knew who these directors were gonna be anyway. It's just seeing them associated with their individual episodes now. I think it's really cool that they're, kind of giving people the opportunity to jump between episodes, not really, direct back to back. And
I mean, it's the Game of Thrones model. Yeah. So I don't think as viewers we're going to watch the 8 episodes and be like, holy shit, it looks so much different in episode 3 and 4. That's because of Cho and Filoni. It should still feel like a cohesive show. Series, right?
Absolutely. I have no doubt that these will all feel cohesive and like they all fit together really well, because I don't think that they're going for, individualized styles for these shows.
Right. No, not
at all. They're not trying to give people too much creative license to be like, okay, episode 1, super gritty, super bloody, and then episode 2, it's like a fun, fantastic fair.
Yeah, Taika comes in and it's all like 80s retro cyberpunk shit.
Yeah, it's just
like the fucking music and stuff, like da la 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 la, like Blade Runner.
Yeah,
like, yeah. All right, well, I mean, that kind of wraps up all things not The Rise of Skywalker for this primetime show, people, because as I kind of hinted when I was doing my announcing gig, we got a bomb dropped on us yesterday in the form of the final trailer. But before we get to that, we've got some other things to talk about. In particular, first thing here, Entertainment Weekly's been making its round with the cast, in particular Daisy and JJ. So in the first article they did with Daisy, she mentions that the whole Reylo thing, as she refers to, and if you're not familiar what Reylo is, that there's a certain fan group out there, Star Wars fans, that are shipping Kylo and Rey. shipping for you old people means they want them to be in a relationship, hence the term Raylo. You always get two people get together, you got to mash their names together. J-Lo, Ben Lo, whatever the fuck they were, started back in the day, that type of shit. So anyways, Nick, she's talking about Kylo and Rey's odd bond and how it's definitely addressed in the film, and clearly we saw hints of that in both of the trailers so far. But what she said to EW, she said, "It does not bother me, people writing theories. It's really fun hearing them," again referring to the Reylo stuff. "Plus, because I know what's sort of going to happen, I think it'll be really interesting to see people's reaction to the final film. Obviously, there's this whole Reylo thing, and some people are very passionate about it, some aren't." So, again, she's implying there's going to be some sort of resolution, at least more clarity provided between the bond between Rey and Kylo. And then she expands upon it, Nick. She says, JJ does deal it. I'm guessing deal with it.
Deal with it, yeah, probably.
Yeah. It's a very complex issue. People talk about toxic relationships and whatever it is. It's no joke, and I think it's dealt with really well because it's not skimmed over. So
yeah. I'm really happy to hear that, because it is something that could have been, lightly touched on and then moved away from. But, this bond between these two characters has seen itself evolve through both of the films so far. So I think it would have been remiss of JJ to just not discuss it or not really explore
you
it.
couldn't do it. I mean, it's a core narrative theme. I mean,
Yeah.
It's been that way since TFA was built on by Ryan and TLJ, and now it looks like it's going to kind of play itself out one way or the other in TROS.
Yeah, and I mean, if we have the trailer coming up in our discussion and kind of breakdown of that, and the trailer does show a lot of scenes that show Kylo and Rey together, whether it be in an adversarial standpoint, or who knows, it could even be in a friendly kind of meeting at some point in the trailer. But
right. So how does Nick feel about Reylo? Is this something you've ever wanted, ever felt from the movies? I mean, are you a Reylo guy or not?
I mean, I was never attached to the idea that they had to be in a romantic relationship, but I knew that there was some sort of, new, quote unquote. I felt like that there was some sort of deeper bond between these two characters that needed to be discussed. I mean, if you just look at any of the old Star Wars movies, whether it be the Age of Rebellion or the Age of Republic, you always have a deep bond between your dark side, like your opposing forces, your dark side force and your light side force. Anakin and Palpatine in Age of the Republic, Luke and Vader in Age of the it's not Age of the Empire,
Rebellion.
It's Age of the Rebellion. Yeah, I'm just like,
remember, it's 3 R's,
it's the
buddy.
3 R's.
3 R's.
Yeah. I wanted to say Age of Empire because I was thinking of the video game, but Age of the Republic.
They fucked us all up with that shit, and it was funny when Sir Dork was co-hosting. He was correcting himself too, and I don't know if that's because we're forcing people to use the right terms now or what. But
yeah, I heard
it does. We do bumblefuck our way through naming the trilogies now.
Yeah, no, I'm trying not to say OT prequels and then sequels. I'm sticking
it's the
to
age
the
of
names.
motherfucking something,
Yeah.
essentially.
So, and now with the Age of the Resistance, you have that same thing, a deep bond between the two people who are on opposing sides. I mean, the deep bond extended so far in the Age of the Republic that you find out that Palpatine is Anakin's father. I mean, this is something that we discussed long ago that was real in the comics, but like that is how deep that bond was. Luke and Vader, obviously father and son, and now these two, in my mind, it was always that they were related, whether it be they were cousins, whether it be that they're brother and sister or something like that. Right. I don't know if we're going to get that. We may get the Reylo ship, so we may get them actually, becoming romantically entangled, for lack of a better term. But I do like it. I do like that these two characters are inexorably linked to each other, whether it be through the Force or through some other means.
Yeah, I never looked at them as potential lovers. I'm taking your route. Maybe the brother sister or equal or some, just equal in the arts of the Force, meaning that's where their connection comes from. I don't think they'll be lovers. I think by the end they may have a deep respect for each other. There may be a love for one another, but not a love, like a passionate love, kind of like a brother loves a sister love type of deal.
Yeah.
Although, in certain parts of the country, that love can get a little weird. I'm
Yeah,
talking about West Virginia, but you know what I mean? But no, I don't see them. I've never been a Raylo guy.
Yeah.
You know me, I've been pushing Ray Poe.
Yeah, you have been. That's been your big sell the whole time.
Or Poe Ray, or damn Ray. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But
if I had to choose a way for them to be linked, I mean, we're also I'm working under the assumption that one of these characters is going to be dead by the end of the movie. But in my mind, what would be fantastic if they both lived is for them to essentially become the two, Jedi masters of the future. These are the people, instead of, like Luke being the only Jedi master leading to his eventual failure because he had nobody else to lean on. These two coming from different backgrounds, coming from different sides of the Force, now coming together to lead the new Force users of the galaxy into the future. Like, I think that would be a cool
dyad.
way. Yes, the dyad, the Force dyad. I wonder where that came from. But
yeah. Well, I mean, sort of from the Clone Wars, if you really want to get into it. Not that we're going to go down that route, but I do think a lot of the stuff in those leaks, as we now know, watching the trailer, probably true.
Seems like a lot of it is, yeah.
But I also think they're pulling from existing canon materials.
Which is what JJ has been saying this whole time. He's like, we're wrapping up 40 years of storytelling here. We're wrapping up.
I mean, hell, my friends, in the final trailer, we get a B-1 battle droid Easter egg and the ghost. So
yeah,
he's already has the age of rebellion and the age of republic in there. And then we're living in the age of resistance. So I think he's doing all right. But yeah, I really want the two to become lovers, maybe equals. Or if one or the other dies, obviously paying the respect and the love of like a family member being lost. So
agreed.
That's where I'm at on that. So we also heard from JJ. Nick, you kind of covered this one, but he was talking about the Rise of Skywalker and how important it is now to the Skywalker saga, because as George has always said, he envisions Star Wars as three act plays. Essentially, each 3-arc play could live on its own, but they all also tie into each other and influence each other. And that was kind of JJ's challenge. So I'll let you kind of run with his quotes.
Yeah, so basically, JJ kind of has the task that I mentioned 5 minutes ago, wrapping up 40 years of storytelling. So this was his initial quote, again, to EW. EW gets all the juicy Star Wars stuff. He says, "This is about bringing this thing to a close in a way that is emotional and meaningful, and also satisfying in terms of actually answering as many questions as possible. So if years from now someone's watching these movies, all 9 of them, they're watching a story that is as cohesive as possible." Now, for that one quote alone, he has a mountain of work to do. I mean, we've been talking about it since TROS was announced. I mean, since really TLJ ended. Like, this last movie has so many different loose ends to tie up, not only within just the age of the Resistance, but also reaching all the way back to the age of the Republic. We still have our primary antagonist who was around in the age of the Republic still alive and back.
That's why you have to bring Palpatine back at this, right? I mean, if JJ's trying to do what seems like the impossible, you have to bring back the bad guy that's literally been there from episode 1.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if there was ever any doubt in his mind and he was leaning on George, like, okay, George, here we are. We're at the final stage. Like, you've seen TLJ, you've seen TFA. Like, what's my guy? Like, who's my guy? Who's my bad guy now? Because Snoke's dead. Kylo's, supposedly the big bad now. Like, but everybody knows that Kylo can't be the big bad. George was
I still contend this might have been planned from day one, especially with they allowed Ryan to just wax the supposed big bad for this trilogy.
Yeah.
I don't think they would have let that happen if there was not a plan to bring in an even more imposing big bad like Palp.
Exactly. And that's probably George's, like you said, his mindset all along. Like, look, if you look at, from the beginning of time in Star Wars that we've seen, I mean, from episode 1 on, like you mentioned, this guy has always been there as the driving force of evil in the galaxy, and now we're finally gonna get could be his true end. So that has to be wrapped up in addition to all of the current storylines that are happening here. The Resistance versus the First Order, is that still going to be a thing now? That
dude, how about this one? I mean, the reason that we have 9 Star Wars movies, the fact that the Force keeps reinventing either a super bad or a super good to keep itself in balance.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate end game, is it not, with this one?
The balance of the Force. Yeah.
I've been led to believe that by the end of this movie, we should have the balance that we've heard about since episode Ass 1.
Yeah, I mean, that is, to me, it's very interesting because I never thought of the Force as something that could be truly balanced, that could be, forever in balance. There's always going to be fluctuations, but it is going to be very interesting to see how they handle that, because it's been explored in so many different ways. I mean, if we look at the Age of the Republic, the balance of the Force was thought to be brought by the Chosen One through the eradication of the Sith, as Yoda put it. Like, the Chosen One comes, he wipes out the Sith, the Force is in balance. Somehow that is balance in Yoda's mind.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, especially with the fact that we know Palpatine might have created him now.
Yeah, exactly.
Palpatine, he knows too. He knows how the Force works. He's like, I'm the super bad guy, so the Force is always going to keep making a super good guy to combat me. So he's like, fuck it. I'll just co-opt the super good guy and bring him to my side, which that's what he did with Anakin.
Yeah, and then unknowingly,
so the Force kept going. Like, okay, well, then we'll give you 2 more to balance you 2 in the twins.
Yeah.
Hey, look at that. The Force balanced it with the 2 light guys.
Yeah, and
we think we lose one. We know we lose Vader, but Palpatine stays around, so the light side, Luke is still around, so the light side is, and the dark side, they're cooking up their figures again.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be a resolution to this balancing act that's been going on since day one. And if you really look at it, the Force has equalized itself in every trilogy, because you can't be too heavy on one side or the other.
Yeah.
So how do we get there? Does Kylo stay alive and maintain some of his darkness? Does Rey tap into some darkness too? And they're kind of in the middle. I don't know, but I'm anticipating some sort of answer to this Force balancing thing that's really been plaguing both the good guys and the bad guys since the Phantom Menace.
Yeah, and I mean, that is something that JJ also mentioned, is the, taking the opportunities that are presented to themselves. So even though he probably had a pretty straight line path to his ending for this movie, he made sure that he didn't, skip out on any new opportunities that could pop up. So this was the rest of his quote to EW. He said, excuse me, while there are many things that were planned for and discussed, George Lucas himself said when he created this, he saw it as 3 3-act plays. That doesn't mean there isn't discovery. That doesn't mean that there aren't things that come up and make you realize, oh, here's an opportunity. It also doesn't mean that there's a list of payoffs that we have to do because of setups. But we also were very much aware this is the end of the trilogy and it needs to satisfy. We went into this thing knowing that it has to be an ending. We were not screwing around. So basically he says there to me, like, yeah, there's setups that we may not pay off on, but that doesn't mean that it's coming later. Like, this is the end. So
yeah. I mean, get ready for it, people. And who knows, when Bob Iger Jr. takes over in 50 years, maybe he's like, hey, fuck it, let's dust off the Skywalker saga. But they have brazenly come out and said the Skywalkers are going to fucking bed after episode 9. Anything involved with it is done.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can imagine the quote-unquote list of payoffs that the fan base probably has for waiting in this movie. Like, JJ's probably seen them all.
They want Anakin to come back, Darth Maul to come back, Sidious's mom to come back, Plagueis to come back. I mean, come on, let's do it.
Yeah.
Get them all. Check all the boxes.
I mean, one notable one that I think could just completely be looked over is Snoke as a whole. Like, Snoke is a character that was used as a means to an end for this trilogy.
Yeah, here's how I'm anticipating Snoke gets explained away, if not just glossed over completely, like Nick's saying. I'm assuming early on, Kylo may have a conversation with either the Knights or Hux or Legion General Pride, essentially saying, that dumb asshole Snoke, I knew he was a fake. He's getting his power from somewhere. We need to find devices to find this unknown regent's place.
Yeah.
That may be the only other mention. The other potential spot would be if, let's say, Kylo does come across Palpatine. I could see either Kylo asking about Snoke or Palpatine saying, hey, dude, that Snoke guy was just another fucking puppet in my 100-plus-year-old plan. Eat a dick.
Yeah, I mean, the only other way that I could see it happening is Kylo's got to follow a trail somewhere.
Okay, yeah, that's another.
So, like, he's following based off of the most powerful Sith that he's ever known to be alive at the same time as him, which is Snoke. So he picks up his learnings, and then maybe that leads him to find out that, holy shit, Palpatine's alive and he was Snoke's master, some shit like that.
Yeah, and that's why Snoke was as powerful as he was. Because I think Kylo's impetus for searching down possibly where Snoke came from or where he thinks he got his power is that he wants to know why this decrepit piece of shit was so powerful.
Yeah, exactly. Like somebody that basically nobody had known about. Like you mentioned, Snoke was a pretty old motherfucker and he was beat up. But you don't hear, like, Snoke was old enough to be alive well into the age of the Republic, like back in episode 1, but you've never heard about him. So the fact that this guy basically comes out of nowhere, fresh off the death of the most powerful and successful Sith in history, basically, like, he's probably wondering, like you said, what is this motherfucker's deal? So that one in particular is going to be very interesting to see how they deal with it. We've already talked about the whole Reylo thing. I mean, we have a lot of other ones as well. I mean, like, we have to wrap up Leia. Like, how is that going to happen? We haven't seen any hints about that in trailers so far. So there's a lot of things out there. I mean,
Finn and Rose. Finn and Poe. You never know.
Yeah.
Do Orpac shit. Does their shit smell?
Lots of
lots of good stuff. So, and I have full confidence in JJ and company that they're going to pull it off. I'm not a Disney Star Wars hater. I still, my buddy, the stuntman, last night, he's like, oh, let me know after you see the trailer if it's any good. I replied to him, like, you really think I'm not going to think the trailer's good? I mean, I'm not in your camp. I don't live in this self-hating Star Wars fan death spiral that a lot of people have gotten themselves in. I was there at the prequels. I'm trying to dig myself out because it's not a fun place to be. I love Star Wars. I want to cry when I watch Star Wars trailers. I don't want to be angry about it because I think it's going to suck. I don't get that. I lived through that with the prequels. I'm distancing myself from that. And I'm trying not even to hate those as much as I used to. They're not good. That's fine. But I'm not going to sit here and get on a soapbox and tell everyone they're fucking stupid for liking them anymore. It's useless.
Yeah.
It really, it's useless, and it just causes this death spin of Star Wars fan venom that makes no sense. It's a goddamn science fiction property with a bunch of fake shit in space with laser swords and ships that shoot beams and stuff.
Yeah, so I'm definitely not in that camp as well, and I don't think anybody should.
I just want to be excited about this stuff. It's fun. New trailers are fun. I got excited. I was shaking. I might have sweat. And yes, I definitely cried. That's what I want to do as a Star Wars fan. All right. So, speaking of that trailer, we're not quite there yet, but we have a couple PSAs revolving around the trailer. First being, we got our looks at some new posters, official posters for Rise of Skywalker. The first one here is from Dan Mumford, a great artist. It looks like he hand draws. I'm pretty sure he's done similar programs for other Star Wars movies in the past, but basically he teased the first of 4 exclusive AMC IMAX posters for Rise of Skywalker. So if you go to AMC and see the film on IMAX between 12/22 and 1/12/20, that is, so December 22nd through January 12th, you can pick up one of these posters. And it's fantastic art. It's a shot of Kylo and Rey on the Death Star wreckage getting ready for their duel.
Yep.
You can check it out on the site. I'm definitely going to try to snag one of these because I will be checking it out in IMAX. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful poster. And if I had an AMC anywhere around me, I'd probably go pick it up. But Unfortunately, I'm surrounded by Regal theaters, and that's just how it is over here in
Tough
Texas.
titties. At least they got some sort of subscription plan in place though for you, because that really is the greatest thing ever if you are a film buff.
Oh yeah,
I cannot express how awesome it is to spend $20 a month and have the freedom to go see 3 movies a week.
Oh yeah,
and
dude.
I don't care if you got kids, whatever. You can make time. I mean, I might not get home until 12:30 or 1 some nights, but I'm watching movies. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, this week already we went and saw Zombieland 2. We're probably going to go see the new Addams Family movie on Thursday, because I love the old Addams Family movies.
Oh, me too. But we're I think I'm going to take the little one to Maleficent 2.
I want to see that too. Maleficent 2 is on my fucking list. Like that.
Because we just watched the first one this past weekend. We've been doing movie nights with a fire outside, because up here in the north it's getting a little chilly.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it's not a bad movie. I kind of dig it. I mean, it's an interesting take on Sleeping Beauty, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, I liked it. So
see what happens, people, when you have a little daughter. Even trolls like me can grow and expand their horizons. Speaking of horizons, we got some horizons featured on the next new poster, Nick, and it is what I think this is the theatrical poster. This is going to be the one that I'm going to hang in the last spot I have in SWTHQ for a Skywalker Saga movie poster, and it's.
I like it.
What do you think? I do too. I feel like it's a little less noisy than the previous film's posters, but as I look at them now, it's really not. It's pretty much the same style as TFA and TLJ. Maybe not as colorful as TLJ, because TLJ kind of broke script and went hardcore on the red and white aesthetic.
Yeah.
This one, Force Awakens, was more
black,
muted, and this one is, I don't know, it's kind of like a hybrid of the two. It's very colorful, but also uses a lot of dark tones.
Exactly, yeah. And look, I saw this poster, and I love it. I mean, it has the hallmark of all Star Wars posters, even going back to the Age of the Rebellion. We have your primary dark figure up front and center, kind of like your big bad, and Kylo's mask in the top right. Then you have your primary good figure up front in Rey. You have both lightsabers ignited. Kylo's kind of dividing the poster in half. And then under that, you have all of your secondary characters. So you have Poe, you have Finn, you have Zori Bliss, you have Chewbacca. I love that they put Billy D on there. Lando is on the poster.
What do you think about leaving Leia off it completely?
I know, that was an interesting move. And I don't know if it's because, she was featured prominently within the TLJ one, and she's probably not going to have a lot of screen time here. Like, I don't know what the justification for that was, but I really would have liked to see her,
Yeah, even like somewhere in the little bunch down at the bottom left there, you thought she would at least got like a headshot.
I wish that she would have been like they would have put her in like a prominent spot, like right next to Poe on the left, like you mentioned. Like that would have been a good
I mean,
spot.
Carrie does get top billing, meaning she is the first actor named down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Which is nice, but again, if you're going to do that, why is she not even on the poster?
It's very, very weird. I mean, Carrie, Mark, and then you have Adam, Daisy. But, I mean, it's still a fantastic poster. I mean, you get, like we said, you get Lando, you get C-3PO, you get Janna, you get all the droids, including
Dio. I mean, a fucking Orpack's on the poster, and Leia's not. I mean, what the fuck?
And then you get Rose at the very bottom.
How about Zori with the dueling pistols?
That looks cool. I really like Zori. And
a lot of people make fun of her. They don't like her helmet, but
it does look a little weird. It looks like it looks like a fucking helmet for a Tour de France.
Rocketeer.
Yeah,
it's the Rocketeer.
True. I always looked at it and I was like, oh, it's a Tour de France helmet.
No, yeah, definitely.
Finned weird.
Lance Armstrong's under there fucking cheating, doping his blood or doing something shady.
Exactly. And then
it's a good looking poster. I just need to order my big one and get this bare spot filled up, and then I'll be rocking and rolling with all these Skywalkers.
Exactly. And like Matt mentioned, this is likely going to be the theatrical one. They didn't release it as the theatrical poster. This was dropped on Twitter probably 30 minutes after it, but this has all the hallmarks of a theatrical.
Yeah, anytime they throw the credits on there, it's the deal.
Yeah, so
that's it, 100%. Plus, I mean, fuck, we're less than 2 months out. You better figure out your theatrical poster at this point.
Yeah. So
all right, so one more deal before we get into our trailer breakdown analysis, whatever the fuck you want to call it, of the final TROS trailer. But some interesting news today. So the trailer dropped last night, or when you guys are listening to this, probably 2 nights ago on the 21st. And before that, the fucking pre-sales went live like 2 hours beforehand. So I didn't know that was going to happen. I guess I heard they may go live at 8. I really wasn't paying attention. I was expecting the pre-sale tickets to go live with the trailer. Trust me, my butthole was clenched yesterday. I was super nervous based on my Endgame pre-ordering experience. But sure enough, dude, it was a rather stress-free experience. I'd say within 10 minutes of signing into my AMC app, I booked my Thursday night screening on a Dolby Cinema screen, which in my opinion is the best screen you could get right now. And then I got a Friday afternoon screening on Prime 3D, which is essentially the cinema setup with 3D. But what is surprising, Nick, and this surprised me just because how quickly I got in and didn't have to wait hours and hours, is that Atom, which is a theater change, as in ATOM, Atom, like the Atom, they're reporting that within the first hour of TROS tickets going live, they sold 45% more tickets than what Endgame did in the same time period.
Yeah, that is super impressive. One, because like you mentioned, we didn't even fucking know it was dropping. Like, they didn't come out.
They're just kind of like, surprise. I mean, I had to hit Nick up on our Slack and be like, dude, I just got tickets.
Yeah, you're like,
He's like, I didn't even fucking know they're here yet. I said, I didn't either, but I got in, waited in the little queue that they do, and here we go.
Yeah, and I mean, I was able to jump onto my Regal one, and I got my Thursday ticket already. I'm waiting to get my Friday ticket to see if my girlfriend's going to be in town, because we're kind of planning our vacations our trips home for the holiday around then, so I'm not sure when she's leaving, but yeah, I got in, I was like, oh, okay, I'm done, I got my ticket. Fucking great.
It was the best. I mean, I definitely shaved some years off my life Monday throughout the day just waiting and thinking about it, so when I got there and learned that AMC, they're like, oh, hey, after our site was shut down for almost 24 hours with Endgame, we went ahead and implemented that gate system where you say, yes, I want to buy tickets, and then it makes you wait for a little bit so the servers don't fucking catch on fire.
Yeah.
So, good move here, but here's what I want to caution people on. Both Marvel fans, Disney haters, and Star Wars fans. Don't think this justifies anything yet. This really means nothing. This is no indication that TROS is going to unseed Endgame already from the highest grossing box office film of all time. It doesn't even mean the movie could make $2 billion. What it means is that Star Wars fans love themselves some new fucking Star Wars movies, and when they get a chance to buy tickets, they don't fart around.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I'll say, and I don't even think it's an argument. The ravenous Star Wars fans, people like me and Matt, are far more eager and far more nuts than the most hardcore Marvel fans. Like, it's not even, I don't even think it's close. Just because,
well, for the movies, especially.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet there's some comic book people that are nuts, but the movies, it's like the movies are the movies. They don't quite have the history that the comic books do.
Exactly.
And I love Marvel. I'm not sitting here shitting on Marvel movies. I fucking love them, and I contributed to Endgame making $3 billion. I highly doubt Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker will even get close to that. It's not going to get the overseas market that Endgame did. It's not going to get a special edition re-release, all that happy horse shit. It's really going to depend on the word of mouth stuff and the repeats.
Yeah.
How many people are going to be willing to go see this 4 or 5 times like Nick and I?
Yeah.
Because Endgame making that money made sense to me, because never ever before have I seen a Marvel movie more than twice until Endgame. That's when I knew, like, okay, this one's different. This one is going to make some fucking cash.
And the big one really is the overseas market. Look, people in China love Marvel. They fucking love it. People in China don't like Star Wars.
Yeah, they don't even really know it exists.
Yeah, it's because, like you said just now, like, they didn't know Star Wars. I mean, they knew probably Star Wars existed as a franchise, but they didn't have access to watch Star Wars openly until these new trilogy, like the new Age of Resistance movies came out. So, like, you expect an entire country to attach itself to a property that quickly. And then also,
and it's a communist country that can literally control the information that its citizens see or can look up on the internet. So
yeah, and I mean,
let's be real. I mean,
like Marvel has been very I don't want to say friendly, but Marvel has been very non-threatening to China in its
they cater
content.
to it. I mean, what was it? Age of Ultron, they bring in that Chinese scientist. I think they even have to go to China. I mean, a lot of movies, when they're going to China, if they have an Asian actor in it, it's typically hey, we're going to play this market that has 1.4 billion people in it.
Exactly. And the Chinese audience just doesn't have that type of connection to Star Wars like they do Marvel. So I
get it. They're all idiots. Fuck them.
I mean, I'm on the same train as Matt here. Look, TFA broke 2 billion worldwide, which was it was an unbelievable feat considering,
It was also new Star Wars coming back after most of us thought
yeah.
Star Wars was dead.
Exactly.
Like in terms of movies.
This one, you have, Star Wars is back out there, and I don't know, will the fact that this movie is the last Skywalker film affect box office sales? Absolutely. But I just don't think it's going to affect it to the tune of 3 billion plus. Like, that's a huge tune.
Right.
And
I do think what this shows, though, is that those in the fandom menace, the vocal minority, they're not quite as large and powerful as they think.
So, Matt, I have a question for you, and I just thought of this. Now, with these subscription services being as widespread as they are, I mean, the two biggest theater chains, or two of the biggest theater chains in the country, have them. How does that affect the recording of sales, like ticket sales? Do they just say, like, okay, Matt paid his $20 for the month, he went and saw Endgame 6 times, or not Endgame, Rise of Skywalker 6 times. Does that count as 6 individual paid movie tickets, even though that total would be higher?
Yeah, no, I believe they're still counting every time we buy a ticket as that is a ticket sold. They're not worrying about if it's subscription-based cash buying it or you're just paying straight up. A ticket sold is a ticket sold for whatever price a ticket is.
Okay, gotcha. Because that was something...
I don't know how they justify that in their accounting ledgers, but just because you and I spend $20 to watch, upwards of 12 movies a week or a month.
Yeah.
The movies are still getting credited for a ticket and the dollar amount for us going to see that movie.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's going to be... That's what's interesting about the whole thing around movie subscription models, because not only does it affect the way that you pay for them, but it affects the way that the dollars come in for the movies. So that we may see some sort of shift in that in the future. But yeah, I mean, 45%, again, this is only one theater chain, Adam. We haven't heard anything from AMC, haven't heard anything from Regal, haven't heard anything from Cinemark or anything like that. So, I mean, there's still a lot of theater chains out there who didn't even mention what their pre-sale numbers were.
There also could be the fact that with Endgame, everyone had their pants down. I mean, honestly, if you tried to buy tickets within the first hour, most movie sites were nuked.
That's very true. That's very true.
In the end, I think TROS is going to be popular. I think it's going to be well received. But I also think those that have made up their mind that they fucking hate Disney Star Wars, nothing in that movie could ever change their mind. So I don't even care anymore.
Yeah, I don't think that
it's not even worth it. Like, these people fucking hate it. They're always going to hate it because, and I think everyone's experienced this before with something in their life where you've talked so much shit about something, and then when that something you've been talking shit out either proves you wrong, it's very hard for a human to then self-own their mistake.
Yeah, that is 100%
No one's
true.
going to sit here for the most part and go, I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I don't know why I got so angry at this shit and pretended like I should just hate Star Wars. That's kind of what I was saying earlier. It's like, why would you why would you even want to live in the fandom then if it makes you that upset? Like, just disconnect, get over it, and never come back. It's not worth it to me. I mean, this is fake shit.
Yeah.
There's too much real world nonsense going on for me to give a fuck about Disney running Star Wars and women this or that this. It's like, fuck it, just watch it and see what you think.
Yeah. So
give it a chance. I mean, it's the last Skywalker movie. Speaking of, we're here. We made it. The meat of this primetime episode, and that is going over the final trailer for The Rise of Skywalker. I clocked in at like 2:30. I'd say you actually got footage for about 2 minutes. There's a lot of black stuff, a lot of cuts, a lot of words. So the way we're going to do it, we're going to do it kind of like we always do it. We're just going to half-ass our way through it, maybe say something that will be intriguing to you, or maybe say a lot of dumb stuff that you already heard, but this is how we're going to do it. We're just going to kind of play the trailer and talk about what pops up when we see it. Before we get into it, Nick, overall reaction the first time you watch this thing?
I mean, it's kind of like what we talked about before, like when you see a movie more than one time, like the first time you watch it, it's just like all emotion, like it's your heart's pounding, and I was just like stunned silence. Like I just stared at the screen. I was like, holy shit, it's fucking here. And I started, like, I was watching it, you go along through it, and like really the emotional punch for me, and I think for everybody, was that 3PO scene. Like at the end, like, you know, what are you doing, 3PO? It's like, I'm looking at my friends for the last time. And that was just like, oh my God, it was just such a killer. But
it's rough. And that's one, I think even if you didn't read the leaks, it's kind of clear from that scene what may be happening. I mean, the dude's got this little fucking alien digging around in his head with a bunch of cables hanging out. So,
yeah,
you know, take that for what it is. Yeah, that is definitely something else.
Yeah, I mean, overall, though, we talked about this a little bit before we got on. I think that they use fantastic quotes to overlay over the music while the trailer is playing. So, you know, Finn coming in, saying his lines, Poe coming in, saying his lines, Kylo, Rey, and then eventually at the end you get Luke and Leia. I think that it did a fantastic job of not revealing too much. Like if you don't know, if you didn't go through all the Jedi Pax's trailer, I mean, not trailer, the leaks and the act by act breakdown, then you could watch this and you would feel safe. Obviously, there are a few things in there that give you more context to the you know, the things that are going to be happening in this movie, but I don't think it spoils anything by any stretch of the imagination.
That's telling my buddy, I'm like, it shows so much without showing anything.
Yeah, exactly. There's a ton of great content, and I mean,
unless you read the leaks, and then you're like, fuck. So I mean, that's the way I reacted to it the first time. I was just a big emotional mess. I mean, I still can't watch this trailer without choking some tears back.
Oh yeah.
I mean, my most recent viewing was with my 3.5-year-old daughter. You know, she got home from daycare and was like, "Hey, Bubba, we got a new Star Wars trailer." She's like, "What?" And I show it to her. I mean, you know, she's 3.5, so she's all over the fucking place half the time. She sat there the whole time while I held on my phone and was just fully engaged, like, woo. And I'm sitting there behind her, like shaking, like, oh my God. Just from the trailer itself and the fact that I'm watching it with my own kid and she's getting into it. So I know this movie's going to be fucking amazing based on how this trailer makes me feel. I can say without a doubt, I don't remember quite feeling this way with any TLJ trailer.
No, yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think
I got some of these feels from the TFA stuff. Who knows? It was just because it was all new. I think it was a mix of that and the fact that the trailers were really well. And like this one, they used the fucking music. And that's always going to get me. If you use some of John's themes from the original trilogy, it's fucking over. And you get a good amount of that in this spot. So, Nick, let's kind of get into it. I won't cry, I promise, because we're professionals here. But, you know, it starts really slow. I mean, we've got almost 9 seconds where nothing comes in. But then, lo and behold, we see what looks like to me, and I'll get your input here, but that looks like Leia's Rebel Commando helmet from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, that she drops on the ground. That
Right.
Rey drops
So-
on the ground. But yes, I agree with that.
So Rey is essentially, for the first few seconds of the trailer, it to me, she's training.
She's
She's
still
doing
training.
some sort of Jedi training. She's probably on this, I'm guessing, a secret resistance jungle base, right?
Yeah. Now, I don't think that have we gotten the name of that yet? I know that we've gotten
No,
the name,
and
'cause we need some other
I guess
planets,
the
but,
other
like,
thing I
this
should
isn't.
say, my friends, and I have hinted at it, but if you've read the Jedi Paxis leaks on Reddit, you know for damn sure now that there's a good part of them that are true. Okay?
Yeah.
So Nick and I are going to do our best at breaking this trailer down without letting any of those cats out of the bag.
Yeah. And
All I'll say is, if you want to know more about this scene, because I do, go read the leaks yourself. That's it. I'm not going to spit any of the leaks out here. I got your back, because I'm telling you right now, as a fucking diehard fan, I fucking hate myself for reading the leaks. After this trailer, I hate myself even more. If I had a can of bleach beside me right now, I would snort it up my nose. You don't want to read the fucking leaks unless you just don't care. I'm telling you right now, don't fucking do it. We'll protect you, but I will be referencing like, oh yeah, this scene, if you want to know more of exactly what's going on, wink, wink, hint, hint, go to the leaks.
yeah, see, luckily I didn't read it as thoroughly as Matt did. I read the Act 1 breakdown. I skimmed the Act 1 breakdown and the overall breakdown, like the high points. And I think I've just been so stressed out at work recently that my brain has voluntarily forgotten those things. So there's a lot of the leaks that I've already just wiped from my brain. But yeah, I mean, within the first scene of the trailer, like you were mentioning, you get to see, Rey running through this forest doing her Jedi training. But I love the transition that happens from like the jumping, and then she's jumping into a death.
So she jumps over a cavern, obviously using the Force here, but then they cut to a scene deeper in the movie, and if you look around and you have an idea of what else is going to show up in this movie, it should be pretty clear where she's at.
Yeah.
She's at this is in the Death Star wreckage.
Yeah, so you can see around, like, this is clearly like shit is falling apart. This definitely looks like...
Well, just look at it. I mean, she looks like she's in a similar room to where Kenobi was in A New Hope, shutting down the tractor beam.
True. Yeah, very true. And then
if you take all that in, like if you freeze frame the stuff, she's essentially in the tractor beam room.
Yeah, you can even see, like, in the freeze frame that you have in the breakdown video, that little structure that's like collapsed looks exactly like that little half oval kind of thing that he was standing by to turn it off. So yeah.
For some reason, Rey makes her way to the wreckage of the second Death Star. This is one of those moments, if you want to know more, Star Wars leaks on Reddit, they got you covered.
Yeah.
So while this is all going on, Nick, we get a kind of a great voiceover from Finn, and I'm assuming he's talking to Rey because he basically says it's an instinct, a feeling. The Force brought us together. I'm assuming him and Rey are talking about what they've experienced over the last, year and a couple days of their lives.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really interesting to see that Finn is again referencing the Force, because the first time that we hear Finn reference the Force was actually kind of in a joke at the end of TFA, where he's talking to Han and he's like, Han's asking him how he's gonna shut down this Starkiller base, and he's like, we'll use the Force. And then he's like, that's not how the Force works. So the fact that Finn now has a new reverence.
It sounds like he might have been kind of tuning into Rey's Jedi training.
Yeah, I mean, like,
maybe he's been reading some of the Jedi novels in his spare time on this jungle base.
Yeah, the books are still there, and they're all stuck together on this base. So I'm sure that Rey and Finn have been having conversations, and we all know how much Finn adores her. So it wouldn't surprise me that, like, he's trying to learn about the Force to impress her or something like that.
Yeah, well, or they're just having a deep talk. But I like the line and the scenes they matched it up to. So, I mean, the trailer continues on. We get a shot of Finn looking all dapper. He's using some funky-looking binocs. But then it cuts back to Rey doing her thing, and we get this great wide shot of this jungle planet, which, again, I'm going with is the Resistance base.
Yeah, yeah.
But then it cuts to an interior shot of the Resistance, and lo and behold, everyone is seemingly gathered around Poe Dameron as if he's giving some sort of big kind of rah-rah speech. I'm kind of speculating here, Nick, this is probably taken place later in the movie, potentially right before the third act, because I mean, Lando's there, Akbar's son's there, 3PO's there, Poe's there. I mean, it looks like the whole Resistance is there outside of a few key people.
Yeah, this looks like it could be a scene leading into a scene that we see later in the trailer.
Exactly. Like right before the big-ass Resistance squadron scene that we're going to be talking about. This is, I think, Poe kind of assuming his role as the leader. I'm also assuming because it's Poe everyone's looking at that Leia has passed by this point in the movie.
Yes.
Because otherwise, why the fuck is Poe giving the speech here? I mean, that would be a Leia moment for sure.
Absolutely. So now,
but what he says is something key. He says we're not alone. So he's making a plea to someone, like, "Come on, we can do this." Because then he goes on. Good people will follow us if we lead them. And as he's saying that, we get a shot of Rose. We know she's a good person, but behind Rose, we get a shot of Dominic Monaghan's character, and I believe that's Lieutenant Connix, who is Carrie Fisher's daughter.
Yes, that is Lieutenant Connix. That's
okay.
back
And,
there.
and Nick, I believe, and we're going to come back to this, they're fighting on the exterior hull of a Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
And that's where I think this Rose shot comes from, because I didn't get the... If you watch the trailer yourself, you can actually see when it pulls out, you can see a top of a Star Destroyer bridge.
Yeah.
So anyways, Poe's talking about that. If we lead good people, they'll come to us. We get a hero shot of Finn, Poe, and Chewie. Get a nice shot of Poe's new orange X-Wing.
I know, replacing his old one that was blown up in TFA.
Right, because that got blown up by Kylo.
Yep.
So as he says, if we lead the good people, they'll come. And we get a shot of a Rebel blockade runner taking off from this jungle planet.
That was super cool just to see that ship taking off at that altitude, like so low.
Definitely buzzed the control tower. Right?
Yeah, no, it was a little bit too low.
Maybe they're making a hasty escape or something, because that thing really does just fucking take off and probably plowed anything in its way.
Yeah, that could be. That's a good call. I mean, coming in
like they had to get the fuck out of there or something.
Yeah,
so.
The First Order is on their tail for sure.
So we've had quotes from Finn now, and then Poe, and now we get one from Rey as we get this awesome sweeping shot of her standing on the rusted hull of the second Death Star, where she says, "People keep telling me." What'd she say? People keep telling me no one knows me.
People keep telling me they know me. So like apparently people are like, "Oh, I've heard of you," or "I know you." It could be that thing, like now she is kind of a legend within the Resistance, right? Like
yeah, right. Yeah, people know me, but then she's essentially like,
nobody really knows me.
But they don't. And she's standing there, and you can tell she's waiting for somebody. Obviously, these quotes aren't taking place in the scenes we're talking about, but she's standing on the hall waiting, right? And just as she says, no one does, what do we get? We get our man. We get a flash of red emanating from the opposite end of the Death Star. And here he comes, Kylo Ren, all soaked like a pimp.
Unmasked Kylo. This is not...
Unmasked,
yes.
And he replies to Rey's "I do." So I actually do think her quote and his reply are from a conversation these two have.
Yeah, it could be another one of their forced conversations like we saw in TLJ. I really don't think that would be like a physical face-to-face conversation.
Correct, yeah. It's probably going to be one of their forced walkie-talkies.
Yeah.
But I love that shot of Adam Driver walking out of that wave like a pimp.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
just like
soaked, the expression on his face, and then when he does like the upside-down cross thrust, it's like, fuck.
Like Adam Driver's Kylo is just so good. I mean, he's really like you never hear if you hear people talking about the new trilogy, the Age of Resistance movies, like nobody ever has anything to say about Kylo.
A lot of people they get mad because for some reason they think that he should be this just insane, powerful killer that just wastes everybody. It's like, what are you talking about? Like, I mean, even Vader in the movies was not that guy.
No, yeah. Vader fucking
saw him choke out a few of his own people, Antilles, and chop his hand off. That's about it.
Yeah, he didn't really... I mean, until we saw that scene in Rogue One, like, Vader's kill count was pretty low. So, But yeah.
All right, dude. So now we get this shot of. I've heard people call it the Star Wars Fortress of Solitude. I don't know what it is, but it's essentially a huge floating iceberg that looks to have some sort of mechanical city embedded in it.
Yeah. Now, a lot of people are basically saying that this is Kijimi. Like, we've been told that there is an ice
That's what
planet.
I've me too. I was like, okay. And the reason I thought it could be Kijimi in particular, not the unknown regions or where Snoke's at. Look at all those goddamn ties descending on it. I mean, they're coming in to attack.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this doesn't seem like... I mean, I've never been led to believe that the unknown regions, or the beyond as it's called now, I think is filled with like randomly floating icebergs. But like you said, if you look into the structure of that ice itself, you can see buildings and cities and stuff like that. So
it's a fucking ship. I mean, it could be a fucking ship and all that stuff.
Yeah, it could be. There could be ships. I mean, later in the trailer, we do see a ship emerge from ice.
Exactly. I mean, that technically could be a Star Destroyer camouflage, because scale-wise, I think it would work, especially when the ties get up close to it.
Yeah, it could. It definitely could work.
But who knows? I mean, I did, even in my speculation video, which people, if you want like really in-depth, just dedicated this and not two of us going back and forth, you can always watch the trailer breakdowns I do on our YouTube channel, so youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. But I speculated it's either Kijimi or wherever fucking Palpatine's hanging out. But I'm thinking Kijimi, especially because of the ties coming at it.
Yeah, I don't think that...
But they also said Kijimi's a planet, and is this a planet?
Yeah, I know. Is it like... That's the confusing part, is like, this is technically not a planet. It's like a space iceberg from what we can tell. Like,
it's Bespin in space covered in ice.
True, yeah. That's a good way to put it. So...
No, I'm sorry. Not Bespin was the fucking planet.
Cloud City.
It's Cloud City floating in space covered in ice.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I mean, I could see it being Kijimi. I could see it not being Kijimi. But based off of the information that we have so far, and we know that Kijimi is an ice planet, that's kind of what everybody's running with right now, is that this is Kijimi.
I'll take it.
And then after this thing is fantastic.
Then we get a doozy here. We get this throne that looks like it's been around for 10,000 years, right?
Oh yeah, this is basically the Iron Throne of Star Wars.
Right, it's carved out of like this obsidian-looking rock. It's all craggy. There's spikes coming out of it, and we're all assuming this is Palpatine's throne. And if you know your shit, and if you watch the Star Wars Time Show video breakdown, this is exactly how Ralph McQuarrie first envisioned Palpatine's throne.
Oh yeah, this is
for Return of the Jedi. Like, this is dead on.
Yeah, this is 80 sketches, and Matt does a great job of putting in the McQuarrie sketch in there, so you can see it next to the fucking what we see in the trailer. It is exactly the same, and this is exactly the type of throne that a master, a legend of the Sith would occupy.
Now, Nick, with your expanded and legendary shit, do you think this is possibly from ancient Sith?
I mean...
And Palpatine found the place, and he's just been hanging out there, sustaining himself? I don't... I even said in my breakdown, the throne is very unpalp-like. Palpatine, to me, has always been very...
utilitarian.
Clean, antiseptic, almost hospital-like aesthetic.
Yeah, so... I mean, if you go back into expanded universe times, there was,
like something like this I could see being on Korriban. You know what I mean?
Like the unknown. I mean, specifically relating to Sith in the unknown regions, there was the Sith Emperor that was out in the unknown regions that turned Darth Revan and Malak to the dark side, and we never really got to find out who that person is. I mean, obviously this is no longer canon. Like, Revan isn't canon, Malak isn't canon, anything like that. But there have been stories about ancient Sith existing in the unknown regions in the past. Okay. So it's not completely
it seems like Palpatine found somewhere, maybe found the thing he's been looking for in the unknown regions that has a ton of Sith history, and that's where he's hanging out.
Yeah, I mean, that could definitely be, an ancient Sith Lord's,
Right.
basically his home where he kept all of his holocrons.
Even the lighting implies that it could be tied to that floating ice thing we were just talking about.
Exactly.
I mean, the trailer's fucking awesome. So anyways, we see this throne, but as we see it, we get our first voiceover from Palpatine where he says, "Long have I waited."
Dude, it's just like all of the voiceovers are perfect here.
Yeah. So as he says that, it switches to literally an old school Star Destroyer, seemingly coming out of the ice, right? So again,
it's breaking the surface of the ice. Yes. This isn't. That's why I think it's a possibility that it's Kajimi. But now, like, seeing that in the trailer, and then you also mentioned, like, if you look in there, you could maybe those are ships. Like, that could definitely be like a frozen fleet or some shit like that.
Exactly. So kind of as Nick was hitting, what I speculated was, if this fleet has been out in the unknown regions for almost 50 years, we've heard the unknown regions could be really harsh. There could be black holes, wormholes taking out lightning or whatever. What if the ships just got caked in space ice over all this time? And once Palpatine gives the command, that's what we're seeing here. I mean, it's essentially the second coming of Order 66, but instead of waxing Jedi, the Sith fleet comes to life.
Yeah, I mean, he plans on waxing the whole fucking galaxy.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, that was an amazing shot, and also, a telling shot, like you mentioned. We've been wondering, we saw previously this massive Sith fleet that was already basically in formation in the previous trailer, and now we're seeing this could be the possibility of when they first emerge. Now they're coming
That's kind of what I was running with. It's like, okay, whatever has happened. Palpatine is ready. Let's fire these motherfuckers up and rock and roll.
Yeah.
All right, and then we get just an eye face fuck of a shot. A beautiful. I mean, it's just like there's so much to take in here. So as Palpatine's doing his voiceover, you're coming together. Is what he follows up. Long have I waited. You're coming together. Now, I'm assuming he's talking to
Kylo and Rey. Yep.
I doubt he's talking about the Resistance, but the editors are cheeky. So when he says you coming together, we get this shot of the fucking Resistance fleet, bro. And there's like it's a who's who of Resistance / Rebellion era ships.
Oh yeah, I mean, we were under the impression, like, leading up to this movie, we were like, oh man, what's the size of the Resistance force gonna be? Like, they were decimated. They only had one ship and 5 people in it. Like, what the fuck are they gonna be able to throw at the First Order in this movie? And now we see they fucking have everything you could think of. We have the Ghost from Star Wars Rebels in there.
Yes.
Hera Syndulla. I mean, do you think it's still Hera?
Are we going to see a live-action Hera?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question that I was going to ask you, because, like, at this point now, Hera is probably the same age as Luke would be, right? She's got to be in her 60s. Like,
oh yeah.
But also, I don't know what the age difference is, or like how Twi'lek's age compared to humans. So I don't know if it's a difference.
Oh, I guarantee. I mean, my thing for aliens with head tendrils.
Oh yeah, if we see a live action one, Matt
she ages like a fine wine, bro. I mean, I guarantee she looks sexy as hell.
And then also that opens up the possibility that you hear or see Hera and Kanan's kid. He would be a grown up by now. I mean, he could be piloting the ship. Like
and he was human, so that could probably even be easier to squeeze in here.
Yeah, I mean, looking in the background,
I mean, there's so many ships in here; it's ridiculous. I do want to make a point. I believe it's Lando and Chewie that are leading the fleet, and not Poe and Finn and Rey.
Yeah,
I believe they're the ones in the Falcon. There, as Nick said, the Ghost is there as well. And then it cuts to a shot of the heroes in the cockpit of the Falcon. I'm assuming this is going to be very early on, probably when they learn that they have to go to Pisana.
Mm-hmm.
If you look, Nick, there's something on the dash there. I don't know if that is
that little blue item. Yeah,
it could be one of these wayfinders we've heard of. It also kind of looks like the thing that Leia was using to kind of find people through hyperspace.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It also kind of looks like a flux capacitor. But
it's got the 3. Yeah, I mean.
But I do think this is a very early shot, because while I think our heroes are going to be together for a lot of the movie, probably the first 2 acts, I do believe that the final act, the big space battle, the showdown, they're going to separate.
Yeah, also, everybody looks way too happy right now for this to be later in the movie. Like,
right.
I mean, you look at Rey; she's kind of looking over and smiling at Chewbacca. And now,
they all seem hopeful.
Yeah, exactly. And you also have, like you mentioned, you have Poe in the background as well as Finn. So yeah, I agree. This is probably early in the movie. I don't think that this is anywhere near the climax.
I'm going first 15 minutes.
Yeah, this is probably them taking off for the first time from the Resistance base. That's my guess. Yeah.
All right, so we get a couple quick shots, more shots of Rey and Kylo fighting. We get a shot of this skiff, which I believe is Rey taking it out to the Death Star wreckage.
Yes.
Probably before the very first scene we saw of Rey climbing through the wreckage. I'm assuming this is how she gets out there.
Yeah.
But we get an interesting finish to Palpatine's quotes. He says, "And now you're coming together," and he finishes it with, "Is your undoing." So again, probably talking to Rey and Kylo.
Yeah.
Implying that the fact that he got them both in the same spot is what he's been trying to do all along, and now they're fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, if you want insights into that, this is a leaker type of thing.
Yeah, this is one thing that I do remember from the leaks.
This is some heavy, legit meat now from the leaks, no doubt.
Yeah. So, that does suck.
We ain't going to go into it.
I know.
We'll let the people figure out what they want to, but I'm telling you right now, the quotes that Palp is dropping are being said to Rey and Kylo. Yeah. You take it for what it is. If you want to dig deeper and really know, I suggest you wait until the 19th of December. If you want to be an asshole like me, head on over to Star Wars Leaks on Reddit.
Yeah. So after this scene, we get a couple more flashes of Rey Kylo fights, but then the next.
Before we get to the heartbreaker,
yeah,
the real quick hit of it is a Star Destroyer, and then something is blowing up next to it.
I saw that. It was.
Do you think that is a planet in the distance, or do you think that's just a massive ship?
Dude, I mean, given what we know about these new Star Destroyer weapons, like that could very well be like, hey, look. This is exactly what we did to Alderaan, except now we don't need a fucking star,
I can't tell what it is, because if you look, like I have it frozen at 109 in the trailer.
Yeah.
And you can see the Star Destroyer's ass is like right in the bottom left corner.
Yep, it's right in the bottom left corner. If you look at it too, what's exploding, like it's hard to tell because obviously shit's exploding, but like there's a lot of curved pieces there. I mean, it kind of looks like...
it looks more like debris than metal.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with that. So
it's just the way they edit it and they fade in and out, you can't really get a clear shot. I thought it was interesting. But I like you, I think this is more of their display of, hey, this is what we can do.
Yeah, the Empire always had displays of power for their weaponry and
All right.
There we go.
So we get to the part Nick's been talking about, the kind of one he said right from the beginning. And really, they make a point to slow the music down, everything, as we see Babu Frick, who we know is a Anzuelan droid smith that works in the spice mines of Kijimi.
Yes, and now he is here, and
he's literally cranking on 3PO's head.
Yeah, he's working on 3PO, and this whole part of the trailer is where things just get like...
It's rough.
It kills you emotionally. And, we see Babu Frick working on 3PO, and then you get this line from Poe, and he asks 3PO, he says,
what are you doing, 3PO? What are you doing there, 3PO? Yeah. And then 3PO says, taking one last look, sir, at my friends.
Like, even just hearing you say it is just fucking heartbreaking. Like,
it's the fact that they stop the music and everything and just literally focus on Goldenrod.
Yeah.
And this is another one. If you really want the context of what's happening here, I suggest going to... Oh, by the way, I just spotted another Easter egg. There's a medical droid in the background, back right behind Finn.
Let's see.
A Rebellion medical droid. 21B.
Yes. I see him.
Yeah, you can see the head back there.
Yep.
But anyways, like I said, if you really want to get the context, go read the leaks. But just from this footage, it shouldn't take a rocket scientist to figure out
they're wiping
what may be happening here.
C-3PO is looking at his friends for the last time, people.
Right. I mean, he is essentially saying he knows what's going to happen. He may not remember these people after whatever Babu needs to do is done.
Yeah. So it's that's just
it's a rough one.
That's the killer. But like you mentioned too, we also get a couple of Easter eggs here. We get the B1 battle droid.
There's a Roger, right? Yeah. Like if you're looking at the screen at 120 mark, where you're probably wiping tears from your eyes looking at Goldenrod. If you look though, there is a B1 commander with the yellow heads.
Yep.
Says nice little touch by JJ.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, he's paying homage to all the different ages in different ways. So I really like that. So
after we get that somber line from 3PO, who do we get to see?
We get to see good buddy, little
R2,
friend R2D2.
Yeah, for my friends, of course they cut right to R2. I mean, you have to. They're essentially life mates. I think this scene's probably at the end of the movie. I still contend that R2 is going to be off doing some super secret shit, and he's probably going to come at the last minute to provide a huge assist for somebody. I have my ideas based on the leaks, but we're not going to get into that. But I believe this is probably either a celebration scene or it's either super early or very late, but I'm leaning towards very late, almost the end.
Yeah. I mean, given what we know is happening to 3PO, and yeah, I think that this is very close to the end. And
all right, so the trailer just starts going into the action montage. We get a shot of Poe, Finn, and Chewie in a corridor that looks like it's either on a First Order Star Cruiser or a base.
Yep.
I know exactly why they're there, but I'll leave the leaks to reveal that to you if you want.
Then we get back around to the shot that we always see. We've seen this shot a few times now, the hug between Leia and Rey.
It's like the money shot hug.
Yep.
But we get Luke dropping some Jedi knowledge.
We do.
He says... confronting fear, it's the destiny of a Jedi.
Yes.
All right, so what this means to me is at some point Rey's probably going to have a check-in with Luke the Force Ghost, very similar to how Luke did in Return of the Jedi, where, it's not going to be a huge scene. He's not going to have a huge involvement, but I think Rey probably will visit with Luke, or Luke will visit with Rey and kind of drop this knowledge on her, essentially saying confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi. He doesn't finish yet. We get to see some more action. BB-8 doing his heroics. I'm assuming this is going to be on Pisana. It looks like a chase sequence.
Yep. And then we get to we see a Y-Wing making an attack run. We get to see the skiff.
Well, the Y-Wing, Nick, you can see clearly now these planet-busting guns. I mean, that Y-Wing is going in after one of these Death Star-level guns on these Star Destroyers.
Yeah, those are not your typical weaponry of a Star Destroyer.
So Luke finishes his quote during that shot where he essentially says, confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi, and then he finishes, your destiny.
Yeah.
So...
I'm still
it's more or less the Yoda talk to Luke, right? In Jedi, like, listen, man, you have to go confront your dad and probably kill him.
Yeah.
That is your fucking destiny.
Exactly.
Get over it.
And this is what I really want to see, like, from Luke in this movie, is that treatment like we got from Obi-Wan in Episode 5. Like, he's checking in. He's checking in.
Yes, this is going to be Sage Luke, Senpai Luke. This is going to be the Luke that realizes that he probably should have, been a little bit nicer to Rey.
Dude, I said, like, for some reason in my head, like, I would like this line somehow to be spoken to Ben. Like, we know in the leaks that there is a moment where, if something happens, like, is Ben knocked out?
You, dude.
Is like,
Look at you.
This could be, a redemption moment the other way. Like, we're all looking for the redemption moment between Rey and Luke, but there's another big redemption moment that needs to be had between characters.
I'm all about that. I love that idea. Let's see where it goes.
Yeah, so...
All right, so as Nick's laying down some awesome things to think about, we get a shot, an action shot. We got Finn, Janna, Rose may be there, some Orpax, BB-8, and dude, They're literally having a ground battle
on a Star Destroyer.
On a Star Destroyer in the sky.
Yeah, I don't know how that's happening.
I don't either. I kind of speculate, like, I don't know what type of science we're working with here, if they're in low orbit or what, but there's another shot coming up which confirms these motherfuckers are riding on the sides of Star Destroyers, fighting as the Star Destroyers are in the sky.
What I'm wondering is, okay, we know that Star Destroyers have shield generators. Do you think that, like, the shield generator would hold atmosphere? Like, would it hold breathable
Possibly.
air? As in, like a bubble, yeah. So
here's kind of what I'm thinking why this is happening. And it kind of goes back to, was this Sith fleet all covered in ice, or was it in a planet almost, and the resistance was there, and the motherfuckers just started raising up?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say as well. It's like, this could be the very moment that they start breaking out of this ice shell.
Exactly.
And they just realize, and they're like, fuck, if we're going to... This is one way we could do something. We could literally storm it while it's still on the ground.
That's what I mean, because it's not like the resistance is going to come in and kind of drop paratroopers onto a moving Star Destroyer, especially with horse-like creatures and like, full battalions running.
Nobody's wearing spacesuits. Like
no. So I'm really interested to see how this comes to be, because it's one of the most unique looking battle scenes I think we will ever experience.
Yeah. And then
when you consider that there are people fighting on essentially the wings of a Star Destroyer in the sky.
Yeah, that's going to be really fun to see. Like, do they get met by a cadre of stormtroopers or Sith troopers out on the fucking deck of the Star Destroyer? Well, I mean, we'll see, but it is a really cool concept, because I would have never thought in a million years that you would see a ground battle on the top of a fucking Star Destroyer. So.
It's so wild. All right, from there we get the patented Finn yelling "Rey" scene. It looks like he's with Janna. So Janna, wherever they meet her, she's probably on the same planet that the Death Star wreckage is on. Finn clearly is running towards Rey, who he knows at this point is dueling with Kylo. You know, he's protective.
Yeah.
Then we get a very interesting. It's probably the money shot of the trailer. Could be the money shot of the movie. Of Rey and Ben, Kylo, literally standing in the Death Star throne room from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
You've got the throne itself is there, the iconic back window is there, and they are standing at each other looking like they're ready to fucking kill each other.
Yeah, and it's interesting here because this is clearly after the fight that they've had. I would imagine, do you think this is, well, I mean, this could be before the fight that they have, what we saw earlier in the trailer of them standing on the Death Star wreckage. If you look at Adam Driver's hair, or try to, it looks dry. So right. I don't know if it's like
correct.
They have
this could be the start of that fight.
Exactly.
We've been seeing throughout the trailer.
This could be the initial confrontation, because we see Rey lightsaber ignited, and Kylo does not have his lightsaber ignited. Right. He is unmasked though. And we'll see another scene here shortly of him where he's wearing his mask.
Yeah, this, by the way, is another scene that confirms plot leakage. So if you want some more insights into why these two are on the Death Star together, go ahead and check it out.
Matt, you gotta like get blackout drunk and just try to erase those, like kill those brain cells with all those memories.
Oh, I'll be all right. I know, you know too. You're pretending.
I'm telling you, dude. Like
buried it deep down.
I don't like. It might be that I've just like mentally pushed it down, but
yeah,
and then like
some sort of repression technique.
Yeah,
but.
like and then when I get into the theater, like all of it will flood back as soon as.
Oh, I know it. I guarantee you, when you see them on the Death Star, you'll be like, well, now I remember why they're here.
Yeah, but right now I'm looking at it, I'm like, I can't remember, but it could just be like a subconscious, like, you know, quelling of emotions and memories.
Well, hey, you're lucky. I mean, I guess I need to change up my drug lineup because it just. My memory is wired to remember nonsense.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like I talked about this before. I can't really make money off of the skills my brain has, but in terms of being a really good dork or geek or nerd,
perfect.
I can retain nonsense like none other.
Yeah.
So I still, I mean, it's all very vivid. So here, Nick, we probably get the most interesting scene in the trailer, and it's of Rey and Kylo. They're in this very hospital-like white room, which it's definitely First Order inspired, but the fact that it's white leads me to believe this could possibly be Kylo's meditation chamber. We see Vader's helmet's in there, so his shrine. But a few key things in this scene. The fact that it's white speaks a lot about who Kylo is. I mean, I really think it's a direct reflection of the pull he feels from the light constantly.
Yeah.
The other things, like, why are these two in here? Why does he have his helmet? And why do they smash the stand that Vader's melted helmet was on?
Yeah, so, I mean,
what the fuck's going on here? I don't know. And this is even with plot leaks. I'm still going, yeah, this is new.
Yeah, it's interesting because you would imagine that there's no particular reason why Rey.
Actually, I know exactly. I remembered. Sorry.
Okay, well,
what's going on now?
I still but in my mind, there's no particular reason that Rey should be on a First Order Star Destroyer, like a First Order cruiser at all, especially fighting against Kylo. So I don't know if this is like part of the Force flash fights. Like, do they flash here? And then they break
I'm just gonna say no, because I don't even think those Force flash flights are real at this point.
Yeah, that was something.
There is a reason she has to be on a Star Destroyer. It's a important reason. It makes sense. And if you kind of stop or pause this footage as you see the Vader helmet falling and the stand crashing.
Yep, you'll see her holding a
Look
dagger.
at her hand. She's holding a dagger.
Yeah, and that is another part of
this dagger is one of the MacGuffins of the movies.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it at that, but I'm pretty sure that's why she's on the ship.
Yeah, and for those of you who are wondering, like, did they do this on purpose? Did they intentionally strike down this holy place that Kylo has always kept his grandfather's helmet on? I seriously doubt that. Like, that is...
No. I think they're generally fighting, and either Rey did it to piss him off, or they're just, again, fighting, and it was a casualty of war.
Yeah, exactly. So it's hard to tell from here. You can tell that it looks like that it's Rey's lightsaber that strikes it where it starts to shatter. But other than that, like the leading up to it and how it happens, we don't really have a good idea about that yet. But yes, the key thing in this image is the dagger, this MacGuffin that Matt mentioned from the very beginning.
So here we get another shot of, I said, the charge. It's literally a different angle. You're getting a behind the shot now,
yeah.
But if you go a few frames, Nick, you can see those Sith TIE fighters, and then giving chase, you have a good old B-Wing and an X-Wing.
Yep. So
you're getting all the ships in there, like we said earlier. You're definitely not going to be shortchanged on your Rebellion-era ships.
Yeah, and I mean, this basically confirms, though, that the charge is happening while they're in space.
Oh, yeah, they're fucking in the air. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, so
no doubt.
I'm really interested to see how they pull this shit off.
I told you, man. I mean, there's a good chance we're going to see some Sith jet troopers get mixed up in this battle, maybe some First Order jet troopers. But it's very intriguing. It's one of those scenes where you're just like, wow, that looks fucking wild, but I need to know why this is happening.
Yeah, and what I really like about this, too, is that JJ doesn't just use the scale of the fleet once. Like, he uses it again. Like, this shot is a perfect representation of the size of the Sith fleet, and that is something that we really haven't seen before in Star Wars, especially if you go back to the age of the Rebellion. Like, the size of the fleets was so limited based off of the technology that was available to them, and even if you look at the age of the Republic, you never saw fleets represented this way in such a uniform, militaristic fashion. It's always in the heat of a battle. This is such a cool way to show the might that is under Palpatine's
and this
control.
Is still a fraction of it.
Yeah.
We're still only seeing a fraction of it.
So, I mean, again, like, there's
this flotilla or this lineup of Star Destroyers could go on for parsecs and parsecs.
Yeah.
How do you like that? I didn't use miles, motherfuckers.
Good job.
All right, so we get another shot of Kylo here. I kind of mentioned in this, he looks different. It's almost like some sort of conflict has been resolved within him.
Yeah. I mean, you can see
that
he's
total bullshit. He could be literally walking over to chop Rey's head off. But he doesn't look like the same just pure angry, conflicted Kylo to me there.
And it looks like this is after some sort of fight. I mean, you could see that he's physically, he's sweating, he's dirty, he looks like he's pretty downtrodden. His hair is wet. I don't know if that has anything to do with the fact that they showed the scene and he was standing on the Death Star wreckage and his hair got wet. Could be, could not be. But yeah, this is definitely a different visage than we usually see from Kylo.
All right, so as the trailer wraps, we get a very interesting shot here of Palpatine and Rey, and just the way it's shot, I feel like Palpatine is raised up in the air, almost floating or walking on mechanical legs.
Yeah.
So this is where, I don't know if Nick and I were talking offline or in this cast, hell, we've been going for an hour and a half now, we still have another fucking segment. I can't remember what the fuck I've said at this point. But to me, this is showing that Palpatine, like his former apprentices in Vader and Maul, is now relying on machinery to essentially keep him alive.
Yeah, I mean, we have to figure that even somebody as powerful as Palpatine, after being thrown into the reactor of a Death Star and then blown up, needs some sort of life support or assistance. I mean, like you would imagine.
He's old as fuck. He's what, like 130?
Yeah,
maybe he just can't walk. But he seems to be. If you remember from the Phantom Menace, I think the Trade Federation, they had this walking hologram thing.
Yeah, yes, they did.
That's kind of what I envisioned his throne could be like, or it's just literally hovering. But if you watch that real quick scene in the trailer, you can see Rey backing up, and he's moving towards her, but he's not walking. And there's like a cable and a little light there.
Yeah.
So I think whatever throne he's in, it's almost like a Vader suit.
Yeah.
Maybe not as encompassing, but it's definitely helping him physically.
And if you go back, and this shot's not in the video, but if you look at the trailer too, there's another shot. I don't know if it's a sequential shot that happens right after, but if you look at the ground, it's you see a shot of Kylo, and I'm pretty sure he has his back turned. If you look at the ground that Rey's standing on in this shot and the ground that Kylo is standing on in the other shot, it's the same ground. So I don't know if this shot is actually Kylo and Rey, and right now we're only getting the focus on Rey, or if at some point there is, like, Kylo enters this scene, whether it be at the behest of Palpatine or to assist Rey, but in the trailer, there is another shot with this ground, the same sort of ground.
I know what you're saying. I have a feeling Rey may be confronting the big guy by herself at first.
Yeah, and then
just based on the fucking leaks.
And then Kylo maybe comes there after something has happened to him. Who knows?
Yep.
So.
Yes. So then we get the last shot of the trailer, and it's really a wonderful shot of Daisy Ridley as Rey. She has there's some emotions to this character right now. To me, it looks like happy sadness. And as it closes out, we hear from Luke, the Force will be with you. But before he can finish, Leia finishes always. So I am hoping that is a brother and sister Force Ghost quote drop on Rey.
Exactly. I was gonna say the exact same thing. Like
end of okay, roll the credits type of deal.
Yeah. Like I mean, that just gave me chills. Like
Yeah. I mean, in the trailer, it's literally that last shot of Rey because of the voiceover from Luke and Leia, and obviously the C-3PO thing that really twist my titties with this trailer. Really kind of got me going. But that's it in terms of our breakdown. I mean, it was fantastic. And though this is not the final trailer, you're going to get a million little TV spots. But in terms of traditional full-length trailers, this was it. So prepare for the little 30-seconders here and there. You might get some new footage at this point. But really, the way I roll at this point, I may throw up some of those, just share them on our socials. But in terms of breaking shit down, unless it's a minute, 2 minute, we're out of that business. It's time to just get ready, put the blinders on, roll into the film on the 19th, and see what we got.
Yeah, I'm super
All right,
excited.
dude, we're not done yet.
We're not.
We still have our bread and butter segment for those of you that follow us on Instagram at Star Wars Time Show. And that, of course, is the top 5 Instagram Star Wars artist features of the week as chosen by the Star Wars Time Bros. Yeah. I line them up. Nick knocks them down. He's got his 5 for you right now.
And if there was ever a Nick top 5, this is it, because as I
haven't
close,
looked yet. I looked at the names, not the shot. Oh yeah, here we go.
as I close
Oh
out
my
this
God,
article,
look at you.
every person on this top 5 is wearing a helmet.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a bucket on their head.
I was gonna say, well, you're definitely helmet centric this week.
Exactly. So we'll start off with our first shot up, and this is from a returning top 5 person, been on the top 5 a ton of times. This is at 030079AR. And look, I'm just going to start calling this person, I don't know if it's a male or a female, the name listed on their Instagram account is Ray. So I'm going to start calling them Ray. So Ray has made his or her way back on the top 5. And this shot here, I love when people can take Legos and make them look like fucking badass killers. And Ray has done exactly this.
Right.
With the Death Trooper, this is a Death Trooper, right? Yep, Death Trooper mini Lego figure, and then he or she adds in some really cool digital effects to make it look like there's like a HUD around the gun.
I always know when an 03 shot or Ray shot's coming in the feed because of the post-processing excellence. I mean, all the effects, like the digital target he puts on the guns, like the eyesight, the blast effects, the blaster effects, the kicked up dirt. If you look at what this artist starts with, it's literally just a basic shot of some Legos. There's no coloring in it, none of the effects. It's like, oh, okay, cool. But then you see what they do with the post-processing. It's like, holy shit. It just reminds me of why I'll never be great, because I refuse to learn how to use Photoshop properly because I'm a lazy asshole and that software is fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean,
Ray's work with the Legos is always exquisite. It's another account that I probably could share a shot or two a week. It's getting to the point where I feel like I need to kind of spread things out. I mean, we already got the goats. We already cover the goats pretty much every week because they make it hard not to, as do a lot of you that tag us on Star Wars Time Show. I mean, we definitely have a hardcore following of probably, I'd say, 20 users that tag us almost every day. It just gets to the point like, well, we can't just always share the same accounts over and over and over because it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't expose us to new people. It doesn't expose the artists to new people. So every once in a while, I sit people like 03 down for a few days or weeks, but they're a fantastic follow.
Yeah,
you're gonna get lovely Lego shots from 030079AR every day of the week. Take it to the bank. Follow.
Absolutely. So next up, we have, like you
Goat
mentioned,
boy.
Matt, one of our goats. We have Everything Kylo here, and I mean, this shot, I don't even know how to describe. Like, this is one of the coolest action shots I've ever seen. So we see a scout trooper.
It's Jesse's bread and butter. I mean, this is him. This is a Jesse shot. I mean, every toy photographer, to me at this point, I could literally look at shots and tell you who they are. I don't need to see the names anymore. And this is Jesse's style. I mean, it's the kick up the dust, rad, badass looking, typically a trooper shot. Busting heads, taking names type of deal.
Yeah, I mean, the shot, everything about it is fantastic. Like you mentioned, the posing, the staging. What really sells this shot for me, though, is like the soft goods cloak on the back is just like flying up in accordance with the explosion that's on the side. And then the weathering that he's done to this figure, too. It's just, I mean,
so here's the crazy thing, and we'll have to have Jesse follow up on this. And by the way, I think it was Uncanny Figs last week, Nick. I don't know if you looked on the Instagram, but he came back and gave us a very detailed answer on how he made that Kylo shot.
Okay.
Fantastic. As we asked. So we do appreciate that. We're not just saying it for shits and giggles. Like me as a fellow toy photographer, I'm always interested in the tricks of the trade. But what I was saying here, I believe this is not a soft good cloak.
Oh, really? Wow, okay.
I think this is, hear me out, Jesse, if you're listening, you can correct me. If I'm right, I'll make sure to let Nick know I'm right. If I'm wrong, I will say I'm wrong. I believe this is Kylo Ren's kind of cloth hood type of deal from the TFA figure that Jesse has on backwards and flipped up.
Okay. Okay.
The only reason I'm saying that is because I've done something similar. I made a Jake Skywalker figure with an old man Luke head
Yeah,
that
I
I
remember
had.
that. I remember that.
I put him on the Kylo body and kind of made a dark side Luke, and I did this exact thing. So that's my guess, just looking at it and how like the cloth is folded over. I'm assuming it's actually rubber.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter. As you said, the way Jesse's got it lined up, it is giving off the effect that because of this trooper or scout trooper running, or the dust being kicked up, or the bomb that just landed next to him is causing the cape to fly up.
Yeah. So, I mean, this, again, like you mentioned, you can expect stuff like this from Jesse, Everything Kylo, on a daily basis on his Instagram feed. So make sure to give him a follow. I mean, the guy is
well, look at this. The trooper actually belongs to Ronin314, who's someone I know I've shared before. I'm not sure if they've made the top 5, but it looks like Everything buddied up with Roddy81. He's someone that we've definitely featured.
Yep.
And at Ronin314, they must have had a little toy session, and this scout actually belongs to Ronin. So good work there.
Yeah.
Good work there.
Fantastic job. I like how one of his hashtags is Michael Bay that shit. Just
that used to be a hashtag that you fellow toy photographers out there, you know what I'm talking about. There are accounts out there kind of like us that create a hashtag and say if you tag it, we'll feature it. So same deal, Nick. There's literally an account called Michael Bay That Shit.
Nice.
And it was all about adding as much explosions and fucking particle effects to toy shots as possible.
Well done. Well, yeah, I mean, that definitely deserves its spot on that page. So next up, we have another trooper shot here.
Ooh,
and this one is from an account that actually was first featured on Star Wars Time by none other than Sir Dork himself when he was guest
I
starring
believe we featured him before when this account's kind of had a Prince, a name change. I believe this used to be Count Von Doom.
Okay, yeah,
and now it's Sunset Doom. But Sunset Doom's another one that's become pretty much, I can tell his style as soon as I see the shot, and I love the style.
Yeah, and I mean so we have a shot here of Commander Wolf from the Clone Wars, and I mean, here's the thing that really pops about this shot. It's like the atmospheric, the smoke effects that are coming off of the trooper. I mean, the weathering and stuff sells the smoke that is literally like emanating from this trooper's armor.
Right.
I mean, it's fantastic. I mean,
I saw the BTS on this. This is literally a trooper set up in probably his front yard. Nothing behind it. He just had good lighting conditions in terms of, you can see the natural light is behind the character to the side.
Yeah.
Which obviously is allowing that smoke to really pop and flesh out the lighting of the shot. But I mean, sometimes when I look at this, it's like, I need to get back to just going out in the wild, doing a simple setup, no more fucking card tables and wires and this, that, and the other thing. And just get kind of back to the nature stuff. I miss it a little bit. I kind of make things a little too complex these days. Yeah. And I still will run a shot. I'm like, oh, that was sweet. Took me a while to set it up. 100 likes, go fuck yourself. Haywood Pop type of shit. But what Sunset Doom is doing these days, it's another one. You see a shot and you're like, oh yeah, I could feature that today.
Yeah, I'm looking at the raw shot from this, and the fact that all of that smoke is done in post-processing and the way that he makes it look like, I mean, like, it's just fantastic post-processing work done here by Sunset Doom. I mean, this thing looks absolutely fucking amazing. So yeah, I mean, well done.
He's got a few more like this. I mean, he kind of followed up this series with different troopers, but yeah, I mean, it's excellent work. You will not be disappointed with a Sunset Doom follow at all.
So at Sunset_Doom, for those of you who are new to the account. Next up, we have a share here. And look,
here we go. It's our buddy.
This is our buddy, and
I'll kind of lead into this one, Nick, a little bit, because Greg and I we talk on the regular at this point. But no, we're talking about Star Wars Black Series 2019, who's become probably our number one fan. I mean, Greg is always in our DMs on IG, just talking Star Wars Time show. He's always promoting Star Wars
Recently
Time.
on Facebook as well, I caught it. He was
Yeah. So he's a great fan. I mean, he is. I wish we had 10,000 other Gregs, because then we'd probably be going somewhere. We'd be a pretty decently sized show that people actually listen to outside of like 30 of you. So he's always like, hey guys, how come I'm not getting the top 5, this, that, and the other thing? Well, he made the top 5. And one of the reasons he made the top 5 is because he's literally gone on a tear recently making custom Star Wars Time toy art.
Yeah.
I mean, full-on dioramas with the Mandalorian, where he's got our logo as like a poster. He literally had the fucking Mandalorian walking 2 goats. So he's doing like inside joke type of shit for Star Wars Time. I mean, the dude's just excellent. So the shot Nick featured this week is very deserving, because it's a little egg attack stormtrooper.
I love it, dude.
And as Greg is, man, what'd he do? He gave him a fucking custom iPod or iPhone with our show playing on it.
I know, and that's what I really love about this shot in particular, the creativity. One, I love the egg attack figure. Two, the posing on is fantastic with the headset plugged into the iPod, like you mentioned. Obviously, it's fantastic for him to feature us on the iPod screen. But then also, it's just like in the background too. You have fireworks going off, and I think that the way that
great bokeh captured there, for sure.
Exactly. The bokeh in the background really makes this shot pop. Like, I think it's super strong all around. I mean, it's just a really fun shot here by Greg. I mean, it looks like
he's good at, like, I'm not fucking around here at all. Like the fact that he somehow superimposed the logo on that little device. I wouldn't even be able to tell you how to do that in Photoshop. Like, that to me is more impressive than the most impressive shot I've shot. It's just the shit that people can do digitally with this software blows my mind.
Yeah, you might need to have.
Yeah, I love it.
Greg
I mean, Greg's
down.
done a lot of these little tributes recently.
Yeah.
He's got something here. Like I think you would probably pick him for more top 5s, but he gets kind of stuck on, I don't know if it's a filter or whatnot, or soft proofing, where sometimes the shots look a little desaturated.
Yeah. I was gonna.
I mean, it's a
mention
personal
that.
choice. I still like Greg's work. I just sometimes Greg, and this is constructive feedback, I'm only doing it because I consider you a diehard fan and someone that kind of asks questions, but maybe not desaturate the shot so much. I don't know. I don't know if it's a filter you're throwing on, or if you're soft proofing a shot. Like, I use soft proofing here and there to kind of tone a shot down, but sometimes it feels like you're almost losing some of the pop that you could have had with just some of the natural colors.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm looking at your last 2 shots, Greg, and these both look fantastic. The Sith troopers walking through battle style, and you have an explosion in the background, and then the Mandalorian fighting 3 stormtroopers. I mean, both look great. I don't know if you used a similar filter on those or not, but those seem like the colors are a little bit more rich. But yeah, I mean, the chibi style is just like, for this shot in particular,
these egg attacks are the best.
I mean,
when
so
he told
fun.
me he was getting one, I was like, you're going to have fun with that, because they pose well. And look, I mean, even just a pose like this, they feel alive. And that's why I've always said a good toy shot, you look at the piece of plastic and be like, all right, that thing has emotions.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, if he would have put this, I mean, he could drop this figure in this pose anywhere. It was really cool to have the bokeh. If you drop this on like a digirama of the fucking Death Star, and you replace the guy, like the shot that we were talking about in the trailer breakdown, where fucking Obi is in the tractor beam room, and you see a shot of the 2 stormtroopers talking to each other.
Yeah.
If you replace the guy on the left with this guy, and you just put him there, I mean, like, it would look hilarious. Like, there's a lot of different things that this would fit well into.
If I'm mistaken, Greg, correct me, but I'm pretty sure this trooper's named after you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he wanted to name it, because he's been going hey, what does it take to get in the top 5? Well, Greg, you made it, and now we've given you some feedback to where you could possibly make it again. So have at it, buddy. We don't usually provide constructive feedback during the top 5, but Greg has been asking, why am I not making it? So there you go. It's an honest answer, buddy. But we love you. you're definitely in the holy trinity of Star Wars time fans, if you will.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So fantastic work here.
Yep,
Black
Star Wars
Series.
Black Series 2019. Give him a check. He's
Yep.
a great Star Wars fan, fun guy, and like I said, just a huge supporter of the SWT.
Yeah, and if you look at, I mean, he's got some great photographs up here too. So make sure to follow
And I have a
him.
feeling he is going to be making some of the GOAT T-shirts.
Really?
Yeah, like that image
This
of
guy.
the Mando walking two goats. Because I think I said in the last cast, he's like, dude, I'll make you one and send. I'm like, man, you live in Australia. It's fine. I appreciate the thought. But yeah, I would love to have one of those goat T-shirts, like old school 70s, like just that real big. The picture is basically the whole front of the T-shirt.
Yeah. Oh man.
But we love it, man. I mean, like I said, I would take 10,000 Star Wars Black Series 2019.
Yes. So give him a follow on Instagram at Star Wars Black Series 2019, all together, no underscores, no spaces, periods, anything like that. Thank you, Greg, for your never-ending devotion to Star Wars Time Show.
Yes, we speak your name.
All right, so final one here. We have a second brand new. So Greg was the first brand new, and now we have another one. This is Tegan Lee Draws.
This stuff again, just it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah,
in my head that a human can do this.
Like Matt and I are usually pretty good because we prominently feature toy photography here, but when we get shots like this, or we get pieces of art like this where it is a literal illustration of, characters from Star Wars, our brains don't have the ability to process how it's done, so we just stare at it and we're like, holy shit, this looks really cool. But that is what Tegan Lee Draws has done here. Is he's done he or she, I'm not sure if it's
I think it's a girl, and she literally hand drew the Mandalorian like an official Lucasfilm shot, one of the first shots we ever saw of the Mandalorian.
Yes.
With markers.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck a Copic marker is, but markers. I mean, if you make one fucking mistake with a line, I would assume it's shot.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, you can't erase marker. So, I mean, it's just fucking beautiful. Like,
It's perfect. I mean, it's nuts. The colorings with markers, the sketches with markers, and it looks like a photo.
Yeah, it does. I mean, like, you catch reflections off of the helmet. You get the perfect weathering effects that you see on the armor. I mean, one of the hardest things that I've heard to draw in typical or traditional illustration is hands, and like she nails the hands. Like everything about this, if you just look at this image and you're scrolling fast, you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Somebody did some digital painting of that. It's not digital paint. This is hand drawn. All done by Tegan Lee.
Brain skill.
Yeah, I mean,
and this is something, just go ahead and draw it right on my body and tattoo it.
Yeah, and I mean, if you go to Tegan Lee's Instagram page, she has some fucking beautiful artwork on here. I mean, one of her recent
Look at that Ray thing, dude.
Yeah. I mean,
that is a drawing.
I mean, it's just fucking
are you
fantastic.
kidding me?
Like she has an illustration of Tom Holland not as Spider-Man, like, bending down from the movie. It looks fantastic. I mean, this girl has just outstanding talent that is...
It's unbelievable. Like, just the black and white portrait photos of people. What the fuck?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Again, like...
How do people's brains operate this way?
I mean, I don't know if Tegan has an Etsy shop or somewhere where she sells her illustrations or takes... if she takes whatever commission work, like you are good enough to do that. If you sell your work, if you start taking commissions, reach out to us and let us know, because there's probably a Star Wars character that we would like you to draw so we could purchase from you. So
yeah, totally.
I mean,
just hit up Tegan Lee Draws, TEGANLEIGH Draws, and just scroll through that gallery. I mean, it is one piece of magic after the next.
Yeah.
It's, if you're not artistic like ourselves, like literally have zero art. I mean, I still can hardly even draw a straight line. You will look at this page and just be like, yep, she's a superhuman.
Yeah, I mean, just some of the, like, just scrolling down, there's so many good ones. I mean, like, there's another Rey a little farther down. There's one of Jyn Erso. I mean, it's not all Star Wars either. I mean, they have one
There's a lot of Marvel in there.
Marvel.
There's Luke.
There's
Darth Maul.
There's a ton of great stuff in here. I mean, you have Thor from, what is it? You have Thor from Infinity War. I mean, there's a ton of fantastic. She drew the moment of the kiss between Han and Leia, and that's just like, what the fuck? I mean, that was back in 2017, but still, like, this girl's work is fantastic. So make sure to give her a follow on Instagram.
And I'm assuming it's a girl just based on the biopic. If we've been calling you a girl the whole time and you're not, we apologize.
Yeah, sorry about that. But
yeah.
I mean, that rounds out the top 5 for this week. All super strong stuff. And like I mentioned, every one of these characters wearing a bucket. Even the Mandalorian's got his helmet on.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, the guy literally, that's why the one time I did the top 5, I didn't include any buckets or any troopers.
Yeah, so I had to catch back up.
He's not wrong, though. I mean, they are the coolest looking motherfuckers in the galaxy. I've already said that. I mean, I always liked the good guy team because they're good guys, but I always thought the bad guys dress better. All right, my friends. Well, that does it. This is what we like to call a marathon tour de force primetime special Star Wars time episode. And, well, that's because we had a ton of stuff to talk about for The Rise of Skywalker, most notably the final trailer, which was just beauty. It was a beauty. I cried. Nick cried. My kid cried. My soul is still crying. I can't wait to see it finished. I mean, I really cannot wait. We've got our tickets now. We're locked and loaded. It's literally just a matter of time. So in between now and December 19th, you know what you need to do. You need to get over to StarWarsTime.net. And if you've already done it, now it's time to show a friend how to do it. So StarWarsTime.net, top right if you're on desktop, subscribe to podcasts. All the platforms you need are right there. If you're on mobile, hamburger menu, click on that bad boy. Then go to subscribe to podcast. While you're there, don't forget to hit up our YouTube channel as well, which is slowly growing, but we could use more. And when you're on either of the platforms, be it YouTube or your podcasting platforms, we can't stress enough how important it is, if you're willing to, we're not forcing you to, if you're willing to, clicking the like button on YouTube, leaving comments, or if it's on a podcasting platform that accepts it, dropping ratings and reviews. It means the world to us. So, as we speak your names, we ask that you speak ours back into the universe of Star Wars fans. Let's get this Star Wars time show really cooking these days. All right, my friends? And remember, if you listen to the Star Wars time show, the Force will be with you always.